Your practice is probably losing money right now. Not because you need more patients, not because your staff isn't working hard enough, but it's because revenue is probably leaking out of places that you probably haven't even thought to look. After spending more than 20 years working with private practices and med spas, I've found the same handful of leaks show up over and over again. And most owners don't discover them until somebody shows them exactly where to look. So, give me 8 minutes and I'll show you 5 places private practices and med spas lose the most money and what you should check first. And if you want help finding these revenue leaks in your own practice, then schedule a free call with me. The link's in the description. Link number 1, your collection rate. If I asked you right now, what percentage of the money that you're supposed to collect actually makes it to your bank account? Could you answer confidently? Most owners can't. And that's a problem because your collection rate is often the biggest revenue leak in your entire practice. Now, if you take insurance, you're never going to collect 100% of what you bill. We know this. Contractual write-offs are just part of the game. And usually that's around, give or take, 50%. But what you should be collecting and focusing on is the amount that you're entitled to after your adjustments or your write-offs. And that's where many practices struggle. Claims are getting denied or never even resubmitted or even followed up on. You have coding errors or patient information's wrong when it's entered, and that causes payment delays, or patient balances sit untouched for months or longer. I've seen practices recover tens of thousands of dollars simply by cleaning up their accounts receivable and tightening up their billing process. The question isn't how much you're billing. The question is how much are you actually collecting? So here's what I want you to check. What is your net collection rate? And if you don't know this number, there's a good chance that money could be slipping through the cracks right now. To find your collection rate, you're going to look at the last quarter of billing, take your total amount of income from that quarter. This is the number that goes on top. Then you're going to divide that by your total adjusted charges, which is going to be how much you billed minus your write-offs. Take all of that, multiply by 100, and that's going to be your collection rate. Now, even if your collection rate is excellent, there's another leak that's costing practices money every single day, and most owners don't even track it. So leak number 2 is your no-show rate. Here's another question I ask almost every practice owner. What is your no-show rate? And the most common answer is, I know it's not great, but I don't know what it is. And that's a problem because every empty slot or no-show has a dollar value attached to it. Let's say your no-show rate's 15% and you're seeing about 25 patients a day. That's roughly 4 patients that aren't showing up every single day, which is around 80 per month. Now, if your average visit generates about $150, that's about $12,000 a month. That's a lot of revenue for patients who just didn't show up. And the worst part is most of your costs are still there. You're already paying staff, you're already paying overhead. The revenue is the only thing that's disappeared. Now, the practices that do the best job with no-shows usually have a strong reminder system. They have clear confirmation processes, they have no-show fees, and they have consistent follow-ups when appointments are missed. In fact, I just pulled up one of my clients' KPI dashboard to look at their no-show rate. In the previous 6 months, they collected about $2,500 in no-show fees, but they lost about $25,000 in revenue for missed appointments. Now, in the grand scheme of things, this practice is very large and their no-show rate's super low. So overall, they're doing okay. But $25,000 is still a lot of money. And the key is that it took me less than 30 seconds to look at all this information. Now that's exactly why we built the KPI Intelligence Dashboard. 5 minutes a month and you'll know exactly where your practice is leaking money and so much more. We're actually offering a free month right now. If you want more information, check out the link in the description. Now, even if your no-show rate is under control, there's another leak that's costing practices more than they realize. So leak number 3 is revenue per patient. Now this is one of my favorite metrics because it exposes problems most owners never see. You can have a completely full schedule and still struggle financially. I see this all the time. Their providers are busy, the schedule is full, and the staff's working hard. But when the month ends, the profit just isn't there. And when I ask what their average revenue per patient is, most owners have no idea. And that's a problem because this number tells you how productive your schedule actually is. Now, this number helps you identify underpriced services, it helps you spot missed charges, and it helps you compare provider performance. I worked with a practice where one provider was generating about $289 per patient, while another one was only generating about $110 per patient. It was the same practice, same patients, but the huge difference was revenue per patient. And when we dug in, we found out that the provider was just doing the basics, and he wasn't recommending other procedures that produced higher income. So once we told the provider to pay attention and talk about all the services that they offer, and then explain which ones have a higher value, that provider's revenue jumped 40% without seeing additional patients. Now think about that. No new marketing, no longer hours, and not seeing more patients. Just capturing revenue that was already there by suggesting that they talk about more things that the practice already offered. So if you don't know your average revenue per visit, that's worth checking into this week. And if you have multiple providers, look at it by provider. You may discover that your busiest schedule is not your most profitable schedule. But there's a fourth leak that most practice owners don't think of as a revenue problem. In fact, many practices don't notice it at all until it's costing them thousands of dollars each month. So, leak number 4 is patients who never come back. Most practices focus on getting new patients. Very few practices focus on keeping the ones that they already have. And that's a problem because long-term patients are worth way more money than a single patient visit. And depending on your specialty, a single long-term patient could be worth thousands of dollars over the course of their relationship in your practice, but only if you get them to come back. Problem is that most practices don't really have a retention system. They don't have a follow-up system or a rebooking process. The patient leaves and nobody contacts them again. And when that happens, you're not just losing one visit, you're losing the future revenue that that patient would have generated. The practice that retains patients the best usually do 3 simple things. They follow up after the visits, they rebook patients before they leave, and they remind patients when it's time to come back. Because sometimes the fastest way to grow is not by finding more patients. It's keeping the ones that you already have. But all 4 of these leaks have something in common. They only become expensive when you don't know that they're happening. And that's what brings us to the 5th and biggest leak of all. So, leak number 5, you're not looking at your numbers. Every leak has one thing in common. They're all there because nobody was looking for them. Your collection rate drops because nobody notices. Your no-show rate creeps up because nobody notices, or even calculates what it's costing you. Patients stop coming back and nobody realizes it. But the good news is these problems are usually fixable, but you can't fix what you can't see. And the truth is you don't need to track dozens of metrics to understand the health of your practice. You really only need 3. Your collection rate, your no-show rate, and your revenue per patient visit. These numbers alone will tell you where most of the leaks are happening. And that's exactly why we built the KPI dashboard. 5 minutes a month gives you a clear picture of what's happening in your practice. Now we're offering a free month right now. The link's in the description if you want to learn more about it. So go check it out. Now, these are the 5 places that most private practices and med spas are losing money. And the important thing is this: most of these leaks don't require more patients or more marketing to fix. They require visibility, because once you know where your money's escaping, fixing it becomes a lot easier. And if you want to see the one tool I recommend for tracking these numbers every single month, then watch this next video, and I'll see you there.